Okay, happy Thursday, everyone. It's an absolutely beautiful fall day here in St. Louis, and all the signs of fall in there. Our vegetable garden is starting to get played out, and the birds are finding places to, I guess, roost up for the winter or whatever. We put Robert and I put a nesting box out last winter, and so it's going to be interesting to see if anybody takes a bite on that and builds a nest. To take care of, keep the birds warm this winter season. Um, I started a tradition last week for the weekly collaborative of starting off with three things. What am I jazzed about this week? What am I learning? And what are we working on? So I've got two things that I'm really jazzed about. First of all, we've made the decision that we're going to pull the trigger and launch the collaborative 1 week from today, so October 1st. So that means if you've got a presence out there, make sure people know who you are. Go in and work on your profile a little bit. Make sure that that people can find you within your discipline and understand what you're doing in your business and the value that you have to add to the collaborative. And as we've discussed before, part of going live means going live with a monthly subscription to be in the collaborative. If you joined us in the early days, and if you're showing signs of life out there, we are going to just turn your subscription free. So this is a free environment for you. So so if you've just been curious and just sitting back, showing signs of life is pretty simple. Just complete your profile, do a post or two, and we know that you're there. And good, we'll turn you into a free account. Another thing that I'm really jazzed about is I'm glad Dr. Dunn is on today. She's now in the process of officially launching her new online course in holistic methylation, level 1. It's a 3-level course, but and we're working rapidly with her to coordinate her launch and ours. And there's no better thing in my mind than the subject that she's an expert in, this epigenetics and holistic methylation. And we've talked before about how that's really in our view the lead point of the arrow in the newest ways to diagnose and illnesses and take people down a path. Hi, Ralda.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Joe. Good to see you both.
Thank you.
So those are the things that I'm most jazzed about coming up to the launch a week from now, and getting engaged with Dr. Dunn's new online course and ensuring that people know about that. So what am I learning? It's funny. There's not a day that goes by that I don't find something new, usually because people are starting to hear about the collaborative. There's the word of mouth is out there for sure. And somebody reaches out to me this week. It was a guy who turned me on to some things for nurse practitioners. So he had published a book on it, co-authored a book on Amazon. And they have a website called NP, what's it called? I'll put the name of it in a second. But the point is, they've got resources for nurse practitioners. So it's really, really cool for me to, now that this, the word's getting out and people are seeing, hearing about it and coming forward with different ways to help the profession. And that's exactly why we created this environment to begin with, is so y'all could get out there, share your knowledge, share networking, and find ways to work together. Teresa Palmer, who's one of our members, that agreed to be a moderator of our nurse practitioners group. So I turned her onto those resources yesterday, and she's actively digging into it and is planning to bring those into her community. So this is what it's all about. And so just very excited. So what are we working on? First of all, this week on Tuesday, we launched the first of our practice experts profile interviews. I interviewed Robin Stewart, my business partner in Mind Body Talent, and recorded that. That's out there. And we're going to do those once a month, perhaps more, if the opportunity arises. But the lifeblood of this community are you folks, the experts. So we felt like doing those kind of profile interviews once a month at least, and so people can get to know you and get to know your expertise and your unique view on the industry is a delightful thing to do, and I think people are going to love it. I certainly enjoyed it on Tuesday with Robin, and then obviously we're working diligently on the launch of the community. So Charles has everything just nailed down to a T. That's his expertise of making sure the machine is running solid behind the scenes. I'm working on the marketing plan and the launch. Literally thousands of practitioners that are in our database, in our social media networks are gonna know about this thing a week or so from now. So we've been running hard behind the scenes, making sure that the processes are in place, the technology works, we've got a critical mass of activity in the site. We've got a critical mass of experts. And we feel like we're there, and it's just going to grow over time. So we're ready to go, and that's what we're working on. So that's all I had for today. I just kind of wanted to open up and to you all. I mean, unmute yourself, and let's talk about what you're doing. Joe, I'd love to know your thoughts about what you're thinking about your community of health coaches. Ralda was on Tuesday and had some super great questions for Robin, because we were talking about recruitment and hiring and the challenges of those kind of things. So we had a lot of great dialogue with her. What's new with you?
Yeah, Ralda and I were on just before that, and I'm like, go be there for me and let me know, because I can't be there. And I'm sorry I was late today. My daughter had a voice competition that she had to get recorded for, and that all went a little bit late. So
Hey,
I
there's
missed
no
it.
problem. Life happens, right?
Yeah. Now that we're back to school, it's this whole juggling of all the other things that are starting up again here. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's what this kind of life was like. I remember. Um, Rald and I are having a call tomorrow with a group of coaches that I'd like to invite in just to help with content in the health coach group, basically, and see who's really interested in helping us um, really connect and educate other clinicians on what health coaching can be for them and how it can benefit them, and to get those people on board. I know that it either works or it really crashes and burns. Those are the tales we've been told. It's either been wonderful for them, or they just, for whatever reason, it hasn't been able to work. And I'd really like to see, um, we were talking about even in our coaching platform that we're building out, to have that definition of the scope of practice and kind of a code of ethics, and how do you work with clinicians and support them and support the clients without stepping on each other's toes, right? Um, and do that in a way with integrity and grace to get the client or the patient, because depending on how you label yourself, to get that person to well, right? I mean, because at the end of the day, we just want the person better. We want to get them to the end, whatever their goal is for their health and wellness, we want to get them there together. Um, so how do we open up that conversation, and what kind of topic areas do we want, and that kind of thing. Um, you know,
Well, I absolutely love hearing that because that is one of the core reasons why we put the collaborative together, because a lot of those protocols and care plans and that those kind of processes are in place and kind of baked into the conventional healthcare space. But what we've heard over and over again is that functional integrative medicine and lifestyle medicine can sometimes be the wild west, right? And there are a lot, there are a tremendous amount of modalities, there are a tremendous amount of different kinds of practitioners, and we're seem to be lacking some consistency sometimes in the protocols for how patients are diagnosed and prescribed and their care plan moving forward. So that's all part of this being a guild, so to speak, and putting consistent processes in place. So I can't help but think that that's going to give these practices and the physicians and the patients a lot of confidence in what you're doing by laying that kind of infrastructure in place. So couldn't be more supportive. I mean, as you're doing that absolutely let us know how we can help you get that structured in the site, because there's just so much capability there. Hey, Charles.
Yeah, so couple things on that. As Joe and Ralda are talking and looking to get folks in, Richard was mentioning that October the 1st, the collaborative goes into production mode. That means that what is currently a private environment that has selective folks in it, like yourself, who are moderators and mentors and have resources on the environment, which I'd like to just talk for a second. The rest of the external community that Richard will be reaching out to as part of the promotional program will come to the front door through invitation, but then they'll be allowed to choose a subscription plan to join the environment, right? So what I'm going to just make you aware of is that if you have folks that you would like to get in as part of your helper group, try to do that as soon as possible. One, and secondly, please send the invitations to them vis-a-vis your resource area within the collaborative, so that they're getting that special link. And that should allow them to pass through. I believe, I'm pretty sure, even after we lock the collaborative down and make it now a subscription-based environment, I believe they'll still be able to pass through your private link that you've given them. If somebody that you invited tries to come in after the 1st and it stops them at the door, just let me know, right? And in parallel to that, have any of you had a chance to respond to and accept membership into the workshop that we built for you? Does that ring a bell with any of you?
I saw it, but I just came off of a 4-day intensive training that I was online. I mean, I did see something about it. I didn't know if there was something that I needed to do. So let me.
Dr. Dunn, did you get it, or Ralda as well, or?
I think I did. Again, I didn't have a chance to look at it yet.
Okay. So since this Thursday session is a combination of things that are going on in the world and things that are going on in the community, such as how do I use this feature, how do I use that function, whatever. I mean, we'll see a lot of members in the future asking, if I do this, can I do that? This also goes for moderators and mentors and people that are operating resources. So just quickly, Richard,
I enabled everybody to share screen, so you could share your screen if you like.
It's the Resource Managers Workshop, that one?
Yes, it is actually. Let me see if
I'm in that now.
Let me just see if I can grab it up here. Yeah, okay.
I have it.
Good. Let me just give you a quick spin. Resource Managers Workshop, share. Are you all seeing that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, you are. Good. And are all your faces in the way, or am I the gallery thing?
Well, they're
Or
over to the right.
you got it.
No.
how about that? Did that shrink it up?
No, you're good.
You're only seeing that on your screen. All of ours are over on the right, and we're seeing your screen in the center.
Oh, okay. It pushes yours over to the right. Okay, I guess you can shrink that if there's too much. But anyway, just quickly, as you come in, you're going to notice that this is pretty much the same architecture as all of the private environments are, but as its name implies, it's a workshop. So that basically means this is your place to come in and bang on the table with a hammer and nails. You can't break anything. And the idea is to give you a place to try things out and figure out how something works without feeling, oh geez, if I do this live in my environment, is it going to show up? Is it going to be right? You know, are people going to look at it and think that it's clunky, whatever. So this is your play, you know, your sandbox. Come on in here and do whatever you want. So just quickly, there's the tour. So you have a collection of topics in here. General management tells you, okay, here's the basic features and functionality of your resource area, be it a community of practice like Joe Ralder or working at, or Dr. Dunn as a mentor's practice office, if you will. Member management, when people are joining your particular resource area, member management, and all of these, by the way, have a series of articles within them, yes. So if when you go in and you look at these categories, you're going to see, you know, how to remove or ban a member from your area, how to notify members when you're adding a new post and so forth. So you have a lot of content resource in here for you, organized by the master topics. Here's how to create and manage topics within your environment. Here's how to create content, articles, polls, and questions and voting and all of the different things. And event management is how the events tab, the events function down here works and so forth. So it's a place for you to go. The second thing is I want you to feel comfortable about creating and doing anything you want, meaning go up here to this menu and create a post, an article, a poll, an event, a topic, say blah, 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 testing 1, 2, 3, do whatever you want. So you can get a good feeling for how things work. And the other thing, lastly, is here in the members environment, when you join, there you go. Okay. Oh, so Teresa has joined as well. You are now going to see each other. Those of you who are community of practice operators or mentor, virtual office operators, whatever, you all have that in common with one another, that you're all managers of a resource inside the collaborative. So now that you get to learn and see who each other is, you can talk to one another as a private little community and share tips and ideas. And has anybody done this one yet? And oh, I bumped into the night table last night. You know, how do I fix it? Whatever the case may be. So just to let you know, okay, that's it.
You've been busy, Charles.
Busy, busy.
Oh yeah. He builds and runs a machine like nobody's business for sure.
Oh, nice.
So anything else anybody want to chat about, talk about, ask questions about today?
Yes, Richard, regarding the people we have on our platform, when we receive the email, are you sending those email to everyone in our group as well?
Help me
The
understand that.
invitations?
What do you mean when you
Like about example, methylation, you just send an email about methylation, like, you know, schedule like down the road in October. So I was wondering, like the people we bring into the platform as coaches are receiving those emails as well, or just us?
That's a great question. And Charles can absolutely kick in here as well. So
the thing, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead, Richard.
no, go on.
So what, this is one of the things you can test inside the workshop, Ralda, so you can have firsthand experience of what it feels like. So here's the things you can do. When you go in and you create an event, or you create an article, or you create a posting, let's say you're doing this inside, the health coach environment, right? One of the options you're going to be given is, do you want to notify people about what you're posting here, or do you not want to notify, right? You have that choice, yes, that notification. And it'll also ask you, do you want to associate this with a topic, a particular topic in your environment or not? Sometimes you won't want to associate it with a topic because it'll clutter the topic and it'll clutter the content inside the topic, and you won't like the way the housekeeping looks. This is what the workshop is for. Go on in there and play with that and get a feeling for it. So when you do choose to notify everyone, so let's say inside, the health coaches area, only people who are members of your health coaches environment, meaning member, not visitor, but they've actually said, yes, I would like to be a member, and they show up as a member. When you say notify everyone, then everyone who is a member is going to receive a little notification bell inside the environment. They'll see a notification, and a little email message goes out of the environment. That's a notification that tells people who are members. Now, the caveat to that is everyone, you, me, everyone, has the ability to go into their own personal profile and adjust the settings associated with notifications. So for example, people can go in and say, I don't want to receive a notification for every posting in this particular category, so please send me a daily digest of that, for example, yeah? Or people who are getting notifications when it says, yeah, send me a notification because I'm following this topic, right? Because you won't get notifications if you don't follow something, right? But if I'm not following or I am following, I don't like to hear the stuff from that particular person all the time, so please turn off, notifications to that person and whatnot. But as far as a manager is concerned, your environments have been, and this is where you'll want to reach out to me when you're ready, your environments have been purposely set up so that nobody other than you as managers can post anything into the environment as the default settings, right? That's how I set everything up. Then as you start to practice in the workshop and see, oh, what does it look like when I set something and everybody gets a notification and so forth. Should you decide, there are certain types of things that I would like the members of my environment to be able to do on their own, like post a quick post. Perhaps that's perfectly desirable in your world. Well, I'll flip that on for you so that all your members can do things like that. And then they'll have the ability to say, do you want to notify everybody or not, so forth and so on. So that's more or less the idea. So if you guys want to get together for a little, play around in the workshop, and then we can go into the workshop and play around together and you can see it more. And then if you want to, post something real in your own environment, and, you can say, come on and please look at this. This is what I would like to do. Am I doing it, or do I need to switch something out? Are you surprised how significantly easy this is to do?
I mean, if everyone agrees to that, you show us a little bit, if you have a little more time, will be great to see. I mean, how it's like, are you going to show us now, like a little bit how it's work, or later
absolutely,
on?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
if
sure.
you like. I mean, Richard, what's your agenda?
Oh, no, it was wide open for whatever people wanted to know. So this is perfect.
So here we are. We're in the workshop, right? So let's have a look. So here we're up in the activity feed, right? So your activity feed in your area. Imagine you're inside now your coaching community of practice, or Dr. Dunn is inside her virtual office. The activity feed, as its name implies, has set up here all of this, right? So if I want to show everything, I can see everything. If I only want to see activity that I've created or that I'm interested in because I've switched it on, I'll see that. If I want to see only things that come from my hosts, I can switch to that. And near you has to do with people saying where they're located. If I want to see only questions and polls, that have been posted in the environment. So these filters, right? So now I'm turning all of these on, but I can turn them off. These filters is one thing that you're going to learn to play around with so that you can see different views of things, yeah? So for example, if I want to see all the events that have been posted inside this environment, right now there aren't any. If I want to see just the articles that have been posted inside this environment from the top down, then here's all the articles one by one, right? And if I want to just squash them, keep an eye out for this little funny thing. This is really a nice, because it squashes everything and you can look at things easily, okay? So the first thing is on your activity feed, use these filters, get comfortable using these filters and playing around with them. And then you'll find it useful in the way that if you turn things on and allow your members, for example, to post questions and polls, well, then you might want to come in and just look at questions and polls that have been posted recently, just to separate it from everything else and look at your members and say, geez, that's not a good one. I don't like that, or, you know, whatever the case may be. Now, when you post something, you'll notice a couple things. Keep an eye on this plus button up here, okay? This plus button appears just about all the time. And it's a universal one that basically says, go ahead and create something, then we're gonna decide where it's gonna go. So if we're gonna create a quick post, which is just like, usually you use that for linking out to something, it's going to allow you to create that quick post, okay? Share your thoughts and ideas. This is my idea. Right? It's going to, if you want, allow you to add it to one of your topics. So when you set up, like Dr. Dunn has 3 master topics in her area. You folks are going to be getting together, you and Joe, and then your colleagues, and getting together and thinking about topics. Once your topics are in place, that collection of topics now becomes visible here, so that if something, that's why I have everything turned off, so only you can do this first, because then you're going to want to decide with your members, well, gee, if I let my members do this, then they're going to be able to put stuff in and they're going to be able to choose topics. And in your world, that might be okay, because then they're going to say, anytime people see this on the main feed, they can see it. But anytime anybody pops into one of these topics, it's also going to be included down there. That's all you're doing is relating it or tagging it down there. Yeah. And then you can go ahead and add photos or videos or, and these are things that your members, when they're in commenting on things, they have all these options. So the comments in this are very, very rich, right? So let's say we're just going to post this, and that's all there is to it. Now, here's what I was referring to earlier in your question directly, Ralda. Do you want to add a topic? No, I don't. And now, do you want to notify all members of your area, because you're posting into your area, and this is where you decide yes or if I notify, everybody's going to get it. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, now over on your side, if you happen to be logged into the environment, you heard the bell on my side. If you're logged in, you'll see that there's a little counter now that came up on the bell. And that's one way that notification happens. Now, who's being notified? Only these people here that are in the member environment, okay? So you will all have, Dr. Dunn hasn't joined yet, so she won't see it. So that's that particular feature. Ralda, do you want me to take
That's
a question
great.
now? Go ahead.
I think that's great. I just have to probably go myself and play with it a little bit and see how, you know, the best way to learn is by practicing.
And that's why the workshop is there. You can't break anything. You can throw rocks against the window and they won't break. Right?
Yeah, okay,
So
good.
you can do whatever you want, just bang away, and you know, and everybody's going to get accustomed to that. Everybody else is in there learning, right? So
Yes.
just chew it up, do what you want. And then the cool part about it is that if you happen to be doing or working on something, right? And you're kind of stuck and you're going, I don't know, I wonder what, you know, this is. You can either look to see who's online now, okay? So you can see that when you see Practice Experts Collaborative is there, right? So here in the resource environment, you can say, oh, okay, you can ping just this person, Practice Expert Collaborative, right? To chat, right? You can just, if you want to, you can just, and that should, no. And anyway, I can't spell, but the bottom line is that when you use that chat, anyone who's live will get the message. And that means that you can, you can oftentimes have, a response in a, pretty quick live real time if you're in the middle of doing something and say, I'm stuck on this thing, right? So,
Great.
yeah, because I get a
Thank
big loud bell that comes across my computer. I can't even turn it down. So when Richard wants something, I can hear him when I'm in the other room.
Thanks, Charles. That was great. The important thing to remember is, you've got your community that you're building out for health coaches. And so whatever you're doing in there is going to be seen by the people who have joined that community or following that community. If, as Charles said, that you want the broader community to hear and see something, all you have to do is notify Charles and say, look, I want this to be seen and heard. So like we were talking about, let's say you're talking within your health coaches group and you come up with some really cool thing. Maybe it's a 5-step guide that physicians should understand about health coaches. And so you get it all, working great in the way you want it in your community. And then you say, look, we want the broader community to see this. Now we can get it posted out in the broad, and now everybody will see it once you're done with that draft. So for a good example is you mentioned this morning. So we're obviously working very closely with Dr. Dunn as she's getting, her area built out. And so we posted her new online course in her area this morning. And then, and then we also projected it out into the broader community. So anybody who's a member of Dr. Dunn's community or has been or is following, her, can see those things that got posted in her community. But then we also put it out in the broader community so everybody can see it. That's why you were notified on it, because you.
Yeah. So here's here's an example. Excuse me, of how that happens. This is Dr. Dunn's environment, just like you folks are operating, and there's this program that she is going to be offering, on her own resource area. Well, she would logically use her own virtual office, which is right here, for anybody who is a member or anybody who is interested in her work. When they come in, they will see this, which is something that's been posted in her office. We did that. We've done this on her behalf, but once you folks get in the workshop and start, feeling comfortable with creating events and how to manipulate them, and it's relatively easy. It's like posting on, social media. With a little practice, you can set this up. And it's effectively, the event is not physically taking place inside the Practice Collaborative at the moment. So Dr. Dunn has an environment where individuals are. And did this pop out and open up another screen?
Yeah.
Good. So this takes people directly to the environment that Dr. Dunn is presenting the details and then the registration for the course. Now, the same thing would happen in your community of practice. So you're operating now other people, commercial environments pay for this. They pay for the promotion I'm about to show you. But as operators of communities of practice like you are, you will not be. So you have something that is probably of interest to practitioners across the community, because the idea is to have other practitioners who are in other disciplines to become sensitized and educated on other practices such as health coaching and so forth and so on. So if you have something, once it's been set up, you simply ask, can we promote this to the community at large? And what we do is we take almost like a Google ad version, right? We'll go in and we'll use some of your content and say, oh, okay, let's grab this and let's grab that. We'll come up to the top level community where we are right now, as you can see, right? We're in the top level where everybody comes in, it's the collaborative, and we will go to the event calendar and we will create an event that is, or a posting of some sort that is specific to what you've posted in your environment. We'll take that event. Here it is. It's an online course. We'll create a snippet of that event, just enough to tease the rest of the community and have them see, oh, this is on the calendar. Here's when it's happening. We will post it so the entire community gets notified, to your question, Ralda. And then we won't put much about it. We'll just say, hey, here it is. If you want to learn more, click here, because we don't want to retell the whole story again, but we want to promote it. And when they click learn more, watch where we just drop them. We drop them right into Dr. Dunn's environment. So we would be dropping them right into your community of practice environment onto your calendar. We're now sitting inside your calendar, that same event, and here's all the detail that is inside Dr. Dunn's calendar. Once again, if they click the program details and registration, now we take them out here. So this is how you will be able to promote the ideas and the knowledge and the activities that are happening within your community of practice as, you know, as bubble up. Now, the person that you ask for editorial would be Richard, and he will basically tell me to execute. So, you know, you should work that out with him first, because there may be editorial guidelines that need to be met or something that he establishes, whatever, in the future. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay.
So if, let's say I'm not a member of Dr. Dunn's community and I click on that event, I still end up going into her community and seeing all the information?
It depends on Dr. Dunn's community. So usually the community, if the community is public, as is your community of practice, you know, when people click in, they can come in and see the community, but they can't post or they can't do any of those things until they say, I'd like to be a member. And you can, so this is a very important point, and just keep it as a note for future discussion. In the resource environment that we've created, whether it's for a private practice like Dr. Dunn, or whether it's for operating a sub-membership group, a community of practice, like you're doing for the health coaches, there is a feature that we have that if you want a series of gating questions, and this can easily be used for Dr. Dunn's type of an environment or commercial environments such as the Mind Body Talent, which is a company that has a presence, or you as a community of practice, if you would like a series of gating questions that get presented to somebody who wants to come in, we can build those and we can have it set up so that when somebody says, hey, I'd like to join, they get presented with a series of questions. You may want to ask them, for example, Joe, you know, are you credentialed? No, yes or no? How long you been in practice? You know, are you a student that you'd like to join? Or, you know, please tell us a little bit about, right? So not only does it tell you a little bit about the person, but you may decide that you want to use it as to admit or not admit, depending upon the rules of engagement that you want. In the case of a commercial mentor like Dr. Dunn, she may want to know a little bit about, you know, do you have any background in this or that, or I recommend so forth or so. She may not want to do anything at all. So just be aware that that's available too.
That answers. Thanks.
I was thinking that, I mean, Joe, you were talking the other day, and we all have seen this, that, you know, there are a lot of people out there that are calling themselves health coaches, and it just may mean they're selling Shaklee vitamins, you know, so yeah, that's, just know that those things are there to enable you to control your environment and just not have it open to, you know, to the masses. There's so much flexibility in this environment. That's what the cool thing is, the way it's architected and how Charles has set it up, that there's very few limits on what you can do. It's, but your creativity and how you want to manage the environment.
On that note, Rich, are you going to restrict people? Do they have to be a healthcare practitioner or licensed or something to even get into the PEC? Or what's your criteria for letting people in?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we are going to have, consumers aren't going to be allowed to come in. I mean, somebody's going to have credentials. So yes, we're going to have our own gates on the community in general. So that these are, up until now, it's been everybody that's here has been invited by us, but a lot you invited a lot. I've invited a ton. So everybody here so far has been invited. So we know what their credentials are. But as this thing opens up, and the marketing is largely going to be to practitioners, but at the same time, we want to know who's in there, and we've got a lot of control. I mean, if somebody comes in and they're just trying to hawk some products or services, and we've got the ability to just say, hey, call them on it, and if they want to continue to abuse it, we'll just eject them from the community, because we really want to maintain the integrity of who's here.
Well, on the other side of that, I imagine, to become a health coach, I don't know if you guys, Joe and Ralda, are going to add in some kind of resources for people to learn, to be a health coach. Is that something that is even going to be on this system?
Yeah, the 3 topics that I have so far are building working relationships, a health coach education, and staying in your lane. We're just
Who's going to do the health coach education if they're not already a practitioner that's allowed in?
Well, a lot of times there's levels to being a health coach. So like Ralda and I both started at a very basic level at the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and it was just learn about a whole bunch of diets, learn how to health coach, set up your business, and then we added the functional medicine certification on top of it. So I mean, there's some 6 month programs out there that just slap a coaching label on you and don't give you a ton of education as a practitioner.
In line to figure out, who's legitimate and who isn't, if it's unregulated or unlicensed.
Yeah, it's getting better, and that's part of the conversation. Is right now when a clinician goes to work with a health coach, they really need to do their own due diligence to figure out what that certification is. And Ralda and I are building out, a coaching community, not in here, I mean, a virtual coaching business, and that's one of our things. I mean, how do we tell people how we're credentialed? Because not everybody there's no nationwide health coaching certification. And even at that, a lot of them test you on the coaching part, but it doesn't really tell you anything about the modality that they're coaching you in. Because my health insurance has a health coach, and I called them up and said, hey, so like, how'd you become a health coach? They're like, oh, I took a weekend seminar through the insurance company, and all they basically tell you is it's time for your mammogram. Did you get your flu shot? Like, have you made your annual appointment with your doctor so we can get your colonoscopy scheduled? That's it. I mean, when I had the conversation with her, it was mind blowing. I'm like, this is what most people think a health coach is.
Right.
And that's not what Ralda and I do at all. So yeah,
keep that in mind. I'm going to share my screen for a second. And Dr. Don, I'm delighted you asked that question. So are you seeing my screen right now with the topics on it?
Yes.
So that's exactly why this section is here, your journey in holistic healthcare. So if somebody wants to join your community, and let's go down that path that Charles described earlier. Let's say you put up a few questions that people have to answer. You say, look, this is for experienced credentialed health coaches. I suggest you go back out to your journey into healthcare area and follow down that path, and then come back to me when you're ready. I mean, so this section right here, your journey into holistic healthcare. We haven't, as with many of these areas, we're still building it out, but this is to capture people wherever they are in their process. They could be a conventional medicine practitioner who's been in practice for 20 or 30 years, or they could be, a newly minted chiropractor. This whole section is meant to grab them where they are and then bring them into the community. Because a couple of them, there were a couple of the first people I talked with, Dr. Michael Stone and Dr. Joe Lamb, and they weren't saying this out of arrogance, but they were saying, look, if we're going to invest our time as a mentor or an expert with somebody, we want to know that they've got a certain level of credentials. Because it's like Michael Jordan doesn't want to go out and play basketball with, some guy that just learned how to play basketball, right? That's not going to, that's not going to be a great experience for either of them. So that's just keep this in mind as a resource for you as you're building this thing out, and you want to say, hey, look, would love to have you into our group, but really, we're talking among ourselves as experienced, credentialed people in this discipline. So go back out to your journey in healthcare, in holistic healthcare, and we can build out some. We can enable you to build out your own area in there. If there's a path that you want the health coaches to do, look, we'll just create another subject in there that's specific to you, and that would be a great use for this area.
Mm-hmm. Can you scroll down a bit to the IFM site? There. It says IMF. It's supposed to be IFM.
Oh, of course. Thanks.
It's a new discipline that Rich just made up.
That's a new one.
Yeah. I'm like, the Institute of Medic. No, that's wrong.
Integrated
I
medicine.
guess I have a question. IFM is one of the routes that you can get functional medicine coaching in there, but would it be practical for us to reach out to SAFM, which is another School of Applied Functional Medicine, and to have them have a presence on here, because that's where we're certified through? Do you know what I mean? There's like more than one.
Yeah, we're tracking. We have a list of all of them, and if they're not on that list. So just so you know, we've only been populating things on this site when we have content and or somebody who has the capabilities to contribute content in that area. So that's why, some of these are fairly sparse, because, we want enough information to be there, but we certainly don't want anything to be empty.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, since we're building out another expert portal, and that's where our certification comes through, not only for us, but for you, would it be advantageous for you for us to make that introduction so that
Absolutely.
have someone from the school, because they do cross disciplinary education. Like IFM certifies a lot of medical professionals in functional medicine, and I know they have a coaching branch now too, but SAFM will coach health coaches, they'll coach nurses, they'll coach acupuncturists, they'll coach, it doesn't matter what your holistic background is.
The answer to your question is yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But
Okay.
send them our way. Literally, I'm talking to anywhere between half dozen and a dozen organizations every day. And I'm running really hard to make sure that there's a lot of the right things represented in here, before we go launch. And that's a process that's not going to stop. This is.
Well, no, if you're building it, it's just going to build.
Yeah, it's going to build and build and build. So.
Hey, in New Mexico, we have something called the Unlicensed Healthcare Practice Act. And, you know, we have a bunch of different practitioners that all kind of started because there were indigenous people, you know, like the Indians have their medicine men that were practicing, and then it sort of expanded to homeopaths and Ayurvedic practitioners, and my group, which is the holistic kinesiologists, who I know there's a bunch of them that would want to join. So just wondering how rigorous, again, your intake is. You have a form where they have to fill out and say, you know, I'm not licensed, but I'm covered under the Unlicensed Healthcare Practice Act, or I don't know.
Well, you know, we started with something I think I shared with you. We used to call it the functional medicine rubric, but we expanded it out. It's a holistic healthcare rubric. And it covers exactly that. There are 5 key areas. I don't know if have I shared that with you?
Maybe you did talk about it, but I don't remember what all it covered.
Yeah, I'll share it with all of you. In fact, I think I might have put it out here in the community, but it was when it was the old version, the functional medicine rubric. I've got to put it out there. I just really updated it the other day, and I added epigenetics in there as a category because for whatever reason I didn't have it in there. But that gives us the ability to look at somebody and say, okay, where are they on the spectrum? Where are they in their credentials in their career development? And it's really an objective view. It's not my opinion or anybody else's opinion. It's, do you have this experience or not? Do you have these credentials or not? And
that's right, you did talk.
And it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any other questions or things we need to talk or would like to talk about today? Or
How many
I love
mentors?
these sessions, by the way. We're so glad you all show up and ask these great questions because it's exactly the things that we're working through.
Very cool. How many mentors do you have at this point?
In terms, so that's another great question. So, you know, there are, we think, a relatively small percentage of people who want to step up to full mentorship. I mean, I've done that a lot in my career in different industries and in different communities around the country. And it's not an insignificant thing to say that I want to be a mentor for somebody. That's an investment. Obviously, you know, you've been doing it for a while. You've got a lot of coursework you got in the can. You've got a lot of stuff that you can apply. So the way that we've kind of come to understand and think about it ourselves is that when somebody has credentials that we can look at them and say, okay, they're a practice expert in our collaborative. That's when they get that badge. A version of a practice expert is somebody who wants to go to the next level like you and say, I want to be a mentor to people. In fact, I really wanted, you know, Charles was really the one that challenged me on this issue a while back and pointed out that rightly that, you know, not everybody wants to be a mentor. So for myself, I wanted to stop and think about it. Do I really want to step up to that? And I just recently decided yes. So I put both, like you, I just put both badges next to mine. And because I have that, I've got that experience, I've got the capability, I've got the content. I'm willing and able to invest that kind of time with somebody if they want a mentor, beyond just being, you know, having some expertise in a subject matter.
Okay.
So in answer to your question, it's only a handful right now, but it's because, you know, we're asking people to consider really, what do you want to do? What are you signing up for? And what we're recommending is, look, just come in, get used to the environment, you know, kind of lowest level thing is just show up and show some signs of life and post some things.
But I think you've got a dozen or so people that are in the practice expert category already. Yes, I think. A lot of them are still kind of getting their badges next to their name so that they're visible, which is kind of a big thing we, you know, want to have. But I think But I think we went down the list the other day and Richard was going, oh yeah, that's one. I was going, well, where's their bloody badge? Well, we just
We don't need no stinking badges.
freaking badge, you know?
You were reading my mind there.
Everybody knows that clip, whether you've ever seen Sierra Madre or not, everybody knows that scene, right? So anyway, yeah. So that's one of the big things is because it is the Practice Expert Collaborative, and it's based on this collection of practice experts that Richard, and all of you kind of cross-identify. We really need to get them badged because I think it's, it provides cachet and it provides authenticity, to the community.
That's good. Hey, are you gonna after your talk with Bill Beakey, are you gonna have like a blood work sort of topic area? Did you talk to him about that, Rich? Or?
He wanted to come in. First of all, I think the short answer is yes. But he said he's hugely busy working with you and working on some other subjects right now. But he said yes, I want to come in. But he wanted to come in and explore around, and I'm going to give him a tour next couple of days or so to kind of get him used to the community. But in fact, he just pinged me. He just pinged me through LinkedIn while we were on this call. So yeah, that's the intent.
That would be great. That'd be great to have that section for people who aren't familiar with blood work, to learn about why, when and where and how and why you do blood work and how to do it cheaply with, on a cash basis.
Yeah.
We, Rald and I had a conversation about, as health coaches trained in functional medicine, sometimes we send clients back to doctors, especially being in New York where I can't do anything without a doctor.
Neither me.
In
New Jersey.
New Jersey. So we're in those states where we're stuck, right? We learn about it, we can look at it, we can, and then we can go back and say, oh, well, I really think, your blood sugar looks fine, but insulin resistance is like, this is screaming, to me, like, can we go back and get a fasting insulin? Can we get a C-peptide along with the blood sugar all at the same time so we can use a homo calculator and figure out if you're really insulin resistant? We send them back to a clinician who has no idea what we're talking about. And now we make the doctor look dumb.
Right?
'Cause here's a health coach that knows more than the clinician. And so how do we prep the doctor that, Susie's going to come in and ask you, and we don't want in integrity to make you look dumb and embarrass you. That's not why we're doing this. We're doing this because we want our client to get better and we need your help. So please read this email before she comes in so you can at least be on the same page with us, right? So we're educating from the top down instead of the bottom up.
That's tough, even for me, because it's like they want to get it covered by their insurance, and I'll send them back to the primary care physician because I don't do insurance, and you don't need that test. They'll strip it down to like, oh, we're going to do a CBC on you. It's like, but so this guy that we were talking about is he has the professional co-op services, so you can do like a $2,000 panel for $275. So cash out the door. So most people that realize, that the insurance is very limited about what they're going to cover, and your doctor is going to determine that, and the insurance company is going to determine that.
Yeah.
They can sometimes get a really good deal for cash through that service. So I think it's going to be a really good addition to this whole scenario here.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm always asking clients, like, so where are you vacationing next month? I know you don't want to do blood work on your vacation, but it's kind of suboptimal, but it's the best we can do.
A lot of people are going to those walk-in clinics now. You can buy your blood work online. It's super cheap.
Not in New York.
Oh, that's right. New York is like, yeah.
Not in New York.
I'm sorry, you live there? Why? No, I'm kidding.
I don't know why I live here. I mean, that's part of why Rald and I are building out what we're doing virtually, because I don't know. I'm living here because I have a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old, almost 16-year-old, and a 17-year-old who don't want to leave their friends.
That's a good reason.
and I was born here. You know, it's been 50 years.
Wow.
Wow.
You know that I moved 45 minutes away to the big city, and then moved back, and who knows? 5 years, it might be a totally different story. But right now, how do you do that in New York? Without lobbying for changes at big levels.
Yeah.
Well, I'll leave it at this, that we really understand that in order to change this stuff over time, we have to do it systemically. This is what I was talking with Bill Beakley the other day about. We've got to address every piece of the system. So we're not, obviously we can't do that, immediately, but there are a lot of things that we're doing on other fronts to make things like that, help make things like that move. In the short term, what we're doing here, this is grassroots. This is practitioner by practitioner, practice by practice, boom, 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 and we're going to get a bigger and bigger voice to get things like that done. Because so everybody we're talking with is so committed to changing all this stuff, from insurance and all of it. There's no front that we're not working. There's no piece of the system that we're not considering, and that we're not talking to about it. So, very exciting stuff.
Well, I think it's letting the clients and the patients too, like you grassroots from the clinician people down, but also, letting people know. I mean, like I talk to people and they're like, "What do you mean I can't do that in New York?" I'm like, "You can't," or they can do that other places. They have no idea that people other places can go get a vitamin D test and just do it. I mean, New York, come on, like we only have sun 3 months out of the year, like up here. Like we need to check our vitamin D levels. Like once a year is not enough. Like you get it checked in July. What does that mean? You just spent it's just, yeah. They don't know. They don't know what they don't have access to. So to get them to start asking, I mean, right? I mean, we talk about how chiropractors went from being quacks to being, now insurance covers them, and you got to kind of walk the same route. Like enough people get healed and enough people see the efficacy and enough people start calling up their insurance going, do I have chiropractic coverage? Why don't I have chiropractic coverage? Right? So you get enough people asking for it, then you get it from both directions and we put the pressure on.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yep, perfect.
So.
Okay, folks, really appreciate your time today. As always, I love these calls. I look forward to these every week. So thanks again for all your questions today, and we'll talk to you soon. Next week's going to be a huge week.
Thank you so much.
Very
Thanks
exciting.
so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.